Hello everybody, welcome back to Life Stories. My name is Trent and I hope you're all doing awesome as always. Today we got more stories coming at you from Reddit/entitledparents. So sit down, buckle in, because we're getting started now. Our first story is titled, Bitter Entitled Neighbor Tries to Seek Revenge on My Elderly Friend. Fails Every Time. I was gonna post this ages ago, but I'm in the process of moving during the pandemic, so... This is not my story, but a friend of mine who we'll call Hilda. Hilda and I would meet every morning with a group of owners at the dog park before self-isolation was in effect. Now, there's not a lot of detail, as Hilda is a straight-to-the-point kind of storyteller, and this happened a good few years ago. Hilda is an elderly widow, and she lives alone, but has two gorgeous German shepherds who are very well trained. They don't bark, are good listeners, and can even walk off leash with no fear of running too far away. She had a next-door neighbor, Bob, who was of similar age and lived with his wife. Bob is our entitled parent/grandparent. Now, since Hilda's dogs are so well behaved, the local postmen have no issues with them and would even give them a quick pat. During one of her walks with the dogs, Hilda walked past Bob's house and offered a wave, but Bob just looked at her. Not too long after they got home from their walk, Hilda was greeted by a police officer at her door. P.O. is the officer. H is Hilda. Good afternoon. How are you today? Good, thank you. Can I help you? We got an anonymous tip about your dogs acting aggressively towards the postman and your neighbors. Oh, that can't be right. Are you sure they're my dogs? You own two German shepherds, right? May I see them? You mean these dogs? Hilda called her two boys over, who then proceeded to greet the officer with tail wags and happy derpy faces. She even showed him how well trained they were. The officer shook his head, told her not to worry about it, and to have a good night. Hilda figured out Bob phoned in the bogus tip when she realized he was the only one in the neighborhood who saw her with the dogs. Now, I don't know how long it was since that incident, but Hilda found meat in her backyard. Spoiled, rotten meat. Of course, dogs can eat raw old meat, but I'm pretty sure meat with green discoloration isn't good for them. Hilda caught Bob's grandchildren throwing the meat over the fence, with his wife providing it. She didn't blame the kids, as they were young and probably thought it was a game, but she called the non-emergency police line and explained the situation, including the previous incident. Bob and his wife were only let off with a warning and a fine, as I guess it was considered either littering or destruction of property. I'm not sure. The final incident that wrapped everything up in a nice big bow was when Bob went on a full Jack Nicholson screaming rant in the middle of the street in front of Hilda's house. I wish I could tell you what he said, but not even Hilda knew what he was on about, as she just called the police as Bob was making threats and threatening gestures towards her house. Bob resisted arrest, but was eventually taken away. After that, Hilda didn't know what happened to Bob and his wife. They just stopped living next door. She was still baffled as to why they targeted her, until a mutual friend of Hilda and Bob mentioned something that jogged her memory. Bob and Hilda met each other way before they became neighbors. He had actually asked her out on a date, but she wasn't interested. 30 years ago. This man got married, had children, had grandchildren, but needed to seek some sort of revenge on the woman who turned him down 30 years ago. While Hilda did all the same, but didn't even remember who he was. I love Hilda. Oh, Hilda's dogs sound like such good boys. I love German shepherds so much. Moving on, our next story is titled, E.M. Yells at Me for Giving Her Daughter Nutella. Now, for context, the daughter in question is 34 years old and a resident at the home for disabled adults I work at. I'm still in training. She's also quite heavy, both because of her eating habits and her medication. Her mother was visiting and arrived just when her daughter and I were eating her second piece of Nutella toast. The cast: E.M. entitled mother, D, the daughter, and me. E.M. angrily, "Why is she eating Nutella?" Me, a little confused, "Because she asked for it?" E.M. says, "She's fat. She needs to lose weight. Don't give her something so sugary." Well, she only eats it on weekends, and E.M., now interrupting me, That doesn't matter. She should only eat healthy food. This was my first, and still my only, negative interaction with a parent, and my coworker was downstairs in another group giving out medication, so I just played nice. Of course, I didn't stop giving Dee what she asked for. Getting her to lose weight is definitely something we are aiming towards, but we are not allowed to refuse her food. And after being convinced to eat healthy all week, why shouldn't she get a Nutella toast with garlic butter? Yes, I was confused too, but she seemed to enjoy it. I know this isn't some spectacular story, but this is something that happens a lot. Many parents of disabled adults think, because they're strongly involved in their children's lives, which EM actually wasn't, that they're entitled to control everything they do. Mentally disabled or not, Dee is an adult and can make a lot of her own decisions. The cherry on top was the big bag of sweets EM brought for Dee. Hey, you know what? It's great that Dee is happy and getting the stuff that she wants while she's healing and getting better, but Nutella and garlic butter? I don't know about that one. Moving along, our next story is titled, Break the Rules, Face the Consequences. So this is my first post. Please be gentle. This happened 2 weeks ago. To summarize things, I live in the Netherlands, and I'm a 20-year-old college student and work at a gas station. I can be pretty assertive if I need to be. Since colleges and schools are closed, I get to work more shifts at the gas station. Our cast is me, ED, entitled Dad, K, 3 kids, aged approximately from 4 to 7, and EM, elderly man. Also note that due to the coronavirus being present, there are several laws that prevent you from being together with more than 2 other people. Given that these are not direct relatives or roommates, fines for breaking these laws can be as much as 400 euros per person. So let's begin. It's a sunny Saturday afternoon, and even though it's commonly known that you should stay inside, a lot of people around here still go out, have fun, go on walks, or go shopping. And when you go out driving, you're bound to stop at a gas station at some point. Since I live in a small city, it's mostly the people coming back or going on a work trip of some sort. The shop is quite small. I work alone, and due to the crisis, it affects work quite a bit. Plastic screens and tape on the floor indicating 1.5 meters distance, gloves, and so on. The most important rule my employer implied is that there are allowed 3 customers in the shop, regardless of age or relation to others present. This is important for later. It's around 5 p.m., and at this moment I can see a man with 3 children approaching on bicycles. I already know this is going to be a pain in the behind. At the moment his kids came in, there are already 2 customers waiting in line. Add him and the kids, that makes 6. Too much. A fine for a company breaking the coronavirus laws can be as much as 4,500 euros, and there's a lot of police out today. Sir, I say, could you please wait outside for a moment? I'm allowed to have as much as 3 people inside due to the coronavirus. Now there are 6. The kids are picking out ice cream in the meantime. ED says, the RIVM, which is the Dutch National Health Organization, states that children aren't allowed in coronavirus laws since they still can go outside and play in the playground, etc. So, keeping that in mind, there are only 3 customers inside. One of the customers inside is the EM, who was looking kind of anxious. He did not appreciate the kids coming so close to him, as he didn't know where they might have been. Sir, my employer stated that there are only 3 people allowed to be inside due to the fact that our store is so small. Please wait outside for a minute. I'll allow you and your 3 kids inside after these men have left, which is already overstepping boundaries. Who do you think you're talking to like that? The RIVM says that children should be excluded from the rules retailers make. My employer has stated that there are only 3 people allowed in here, regardless of age. I am to obey those rules, and so are you. You're a big tough boy now that you're behind a screen, aren't you? I don't care what your boss says. I go by the government and the RIVM. The RIVM comes up with guidelines that are not legally binding. Again, I'm going to ask you to wait outside. No! He's getting quite mad now, and his children don't even pay attention to what's happening because ice cream. Duh. Me and my kids will stay in here until we've picked out a popsicle, and you're gonna have to deal with that. In the meantime, the EM had left the building together with the other customer, and seemingly he had alarmed the police. Okay, sir, but mark my words, if there happens to be a police officer stopping by, that'll cost you 1,200 euros. not to mention a possibility of having to pay the fine you inflict upon us. I don't care. You better shut your big mouth now. Why? I'm simply telling you over and over again that laws and rules apply to everyone, including you. I hope you enjoy your last day at work. I'm going to contact your employer and get you fired. I grab my phone. Okay then, let's call him, right here and now. I will call him on my own time. I don't want to deal with your BS anymore. Good, say hi to my boss for me, and be sure to congratulate him. It was his birthday last week. In the meantime, a police officer on a motorcycle had arrived outside, observing the situation going on inside. Due to this man throwing a tantrum, a line of 4 customers was waiting outside the store. The man had just paid for the popsicles he bought and was on his way out. He looked back, and I was standing there with my arms crossed, a huge smirk on my face. The moment he turned around again, he noticed the EM and the police officer standing outside, and he knew he messed up. I was witnessing the spectacle that happened next whilst helping the customers, and it was hilarious. He got an earful from the officer, children going mad, and a grand total of 4 fines at the height of 400 euros. I love my job sometimes. This story goes to show that you kinda gotta be super on top of whatever rules people instate during these times. And I mean, if several $1,000s worth of fines is what's gonna get people to listen, then hey, do it. And with that especially long one out of the way, that's all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning into Life Stories. My name is Trent, and you know the drill. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content coming your way, and I hope to see you guys soon.